Every game is broken.
The world is 2020 is broken, Josh.
This was the last thing that we had, and they took it from us.
Of course, Cyberpunk is broken in 2020.
Cyberpunk is broken. Tenet was bad.
Oh, God. What's up, Guardians? Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games, the last episode of 2020. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the President of the Tower, the Maestro of Mars, the Master of Mercury, the Czar of the Cosmodrome, the Mayor of the Deepstone Crypt himself, Mr. Josh Finney.
I hate you so much.
The Lord of the Lord Corner.
The Lord of Iron Banner.
That is definitely not true. If you would have seen the way I played an Iron Banner last week.
It was bad. I saw it.
It was all bad. That wasn't Iron Banner. I was going to say it was all bad except for the come from behind victory that Nerd and I had with Colonel Panic. That is one of the finest wins we've ever had in the Crucible, I think.
Also joining us is Nerd Generalist, the sweeper bot of the Tower Casuals LFG.
Don't mind me. I'm just cleaning up a mess over here in the corner, guys.
The Hawthorne? No, he's not that bad.
Just never quit.
Cool. No, don't. I can't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop.
Corey, does that make you Hawthorne's bird then?
Mm-hmm. At least I can. At least when I fall off the tower, I can just fly away. Hawthorne just falls flat on her face. She doesn't have a ghost. She's dead.
Wait, this is already bad.
No, it's great. This is best episode of the year, right here.
I have not had anything to drink today either. I want everybody to know this is 100% sober.
Oh boy,
this is
I don't know if that's
Josh. I need you to catch up here. I need you to catch him.
He's looking for it.
I know.
He's
not looking. He's just reaching. It's already. So, yeah. How's it going, everybody? It's the dawning. The dawning is here. The final episode of Tower Casuals for the year is here. The yearly recap of Destiny is here. So, but Nerd, how are you? How's it going? How's life treating you?
I'm good. I'm baking so many cookies for Banshee. It's not even funny right now. Literally, right before we started this podcast, I baked like 15 cookies for Banshee. He needs it, man. He's had a rough season.
I mean,
you know who I'm excited to deliver cookies to?
If you say Crow, I'm gonna be really disappointed in you.
I have given several to Crow.
Who is?
Crow's very appreciative. You want to know who I'm not taking cookies to? Who does not deserve them?
Spider.
Shahan. Fuck Shahan.
No, dude. He should be baking you cookies.
He should be. We have to bake him blueberry crumbles. Did you see that?
That's so clever. It is so clever, guys. That is beyond.
I quite liked it.
All I want to say is Shahan is the worst character Destiny has ever made.
Thank you.
It is pretty.
Thank you.
He looks like a character from another game who's cosplaying a Guardian.
He looks like a Fallout 4 character.
Did you see? I hate to say this, but did you see the joke on Reddit and on Twitter about Shahan? They keep saying that they can't decide if he's Han from the Fast and the Furious or if he's Astacross.
Yes, I did see that.
They're like, watch, it's going to be some guy at Bungie who was like so excited to be the face model for it, and now he's just getting relentlessly roasted.
No, here's the thing. Shahan. You guys have watched Mandalorian, right? You guys are caught up. Josh, I know you're caught up. Nerd, are you caught
up? Yes.
Yes,
I think so.
The first episode with Timothy Oliphant in there.
Yes.
This reminds me of like we're actually Boba Fett, and he's like the guy who found a sweatshirt and found like some plastic Boba Fett armor at Toys R Us and put it
I'm
on.
like, why the fuck are you wearing my Ahamkara gauntlets? Give
like-
them back.
He's like the college kid who just did a keg stand and he got down.
He's Christopher Walken. How do you do, my fellow Guardians?
He's the worst. He's the worst.
He is actually the worst. Like, I want to personally apologize to Hawthorne right now. You weren't this bad.
She's no longer the worst character in the Vanguard.
Yeah, she's the second worst. No, she's not even part of the Vanguard. Like these people are not part.
True.
Like,
She just hangs out. She just hangs out in the tower. She was just like invited because she shot one Cabal guy during the Red War.
To be fair, Shahan's title is Vanguard Operative, so he is part of the Vanguard.
No, that's just a fancy title they gave him so he would get out of the tower. Okay, they're like, go. Do something else somewhere.
It's a commemorative title.
God, go to where all of the bad guys are, and maybe one of them will murder you.
Oh man,
we're terrible people.
All I want to say is Vanguard operatives. Where the fuck is Shiro 4?
He's still hanging out on the peak, Felwinter's Peak.
We could have had him. We could have had Aphrodite. Hell, put Saladin out there. Like, come on.
No, Saladin's. We crossed this bridge. That Saladin is just the dad that went out to get, he went out to get cigarettes and he never came back.
He comes back once a month. That's his visitation rights.
He pays his child support. He comes back, and that's it.
He pays you in Iron Banner tokens.
He pays us in shitty PvP gear. Shitty hand cannons.
Blues for everyone.
Oh, and he makes you do these long bounties that if you don't play 24/7 or are any good at the game, you just can't do it. Have you tried to get scout rifle kills in the Crucible? It's not fun.
I did it.
Corey, I get that done in like half a match. Get good.
Ooh.
I can't.
Ooh. Challenge has been thrown out.
Too busy playing with Joy Toys with my arms out like this in Cyberpunk to be getting bounties. You know what I mean?
You have like the best scout rifle in the game, Corey. How are you not getting this bounty done?
Because I played 3 matches of Iron Banner and I got to that bounty and I stopped playing because Cyberpunk came out.
Did you play solo Iron Banner though?
Of course I did. I don't have any friends.
That's
okay.
True.
Okay.
Now I'm baking cookies and trying to get Hawkmoon.
Hawkmoon's great. I love that quest so much.
So
anyway, God damn it. I'm
gonna do that every time someone says Hawkmoon. I'm gonna do it. Just be ready.
I hate you so much.
Hawkmoon.
Why did we let him back on the show?
It's your mistake.
It is.
He was supposed to be on last week. We could have got this over with, and then no, he's got to be here now.
He needed his own moment of glory.
He even took my look. He's wearing his hat backwards. Come on.
Yeah, Josh, did you not get the memo? We sent it out like right before the show started.
Do you see how fucking massive my head is?
Also, by the way,
hats don't fit on this head.
I made a comment on Twitter that I was getting a haircut. And so many people commented on my lack of hair on top of my head. I'm very upset by this.
You don't have much.
That doesn't matter. I still got a haircut.
A noteworthy event would be me getting a haircut. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I have hair up here still somewhere.
When was the last time you saw it, Corey?
Saw it? I saw it hit the floor today, but that was just the stuff on the sides. I'm not sure about the top.
Corey, what's on that hat that you're wearing, by the way?
This is a Cleveland Browns hat, sir.
All right. Hey, guys. It's been great. It's been a great episode.
So, all right, Nerd Generalist only roots for winners.
See, look at that. Look at that cool hat.
Although, to be fair, listen.
What is that?
I am an AFC North fan.
No, you are from Pennsylvania. You are probably riding that gold and black bandwagon along with everybody else. It's fine.
It's not the right team.
Hey, look, you also like bad sports teams. I appreciate you.
I'm sorry. Okay, we can listen. There's a podcast on this network specifically for this kind
Listen,
of talk. We
listen,
can go
I've
on
got
there
it-
any day you want, Corey.
You know what?
Listen,
We're
I
gonna
also
talk
root
about
for
Destiny.
bad sports teams. As a
Okay, the
lifelong-
Seahawks are barely
I
a
am-
bad team.
Okay, listen. Besides the Seahawks,
How
listen,
old is Russell Wilson? What is he, like 40 now?
Hey, he's married to Sierra. He's
31.
doing all right. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
He's
He's
doing great.
that dude is fucking.
Jeez.
I mean,
Oh, that came out wrong. Sorry.
did it though?
Sorry.
I'm not sure it did.
I
I'm
meant
sure he
to say
probably
something
is.
After that, and
Listen,
I
That's
forgot
probably
what
why
I
the
was gonna say
Seahawks are
mid-sentence.
6 and
Listen.
5 now.
I've got DK
We're
Metcalf
better
on
than
my
6
fantasy
and
team.
5.
Russell
What?
Wilson can ball out any day he wants. Goes as long as he throws it to DK. Let's go.
Dude, listen, DK. Oh, God, dude, I could spend an entire hour talking about the
No,
connection between.
Let's let Josh get us started on some.
I
Destiny
root
talk.
for bad
Let's go.
sports teams, though. Is the point? I am a lifelong Texas Rangers fan.
I'm
my
a
friends.
lifelong Browns and Cavs fans. There was like what?
You had LeBron. That's on you.
Yeah, you
Look,
did.
after Mark Price and Brad Daugherty retired/left, okay, I was stuck with 10 years of terrible Cavs teams. When the best player on your team is Terrell Brandon, okay,
The
I don't wanna
best
hear it.
player I had for most of my childhood on the Seahawks was Matt Hasselbeck.
We all know that. Listen,
Ricky Davis,
listen,
Excuse me, we
Darius
had
Miles.
Sean Alexander
that
for
was
2
a
good seasons.
look.
you
I
got good college sports though, Corey. I mean,
don't-
OH.
I don't like Ohio State.
Oh,
I'm not an Ohio State fan.
what?
So
What?
Are you even a really real Ohioan,
no,
or are you lying to us?
I'm
I
terrible.
was born in Ohio, and I know that your blood is scarlet and gray.
Corey is secretly recording from the Michigan state line.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm actually recording from the airport that Jim Harbaugh is getting ready to board the plane because he's getting fired. Let's be real.
That's
Hey, got him out of the NFC West, and that's all that matters.
Oh, fuck.
Because the minute he was gone, we cruised to so many divisional titles.
I mean, I'm just.
But this
saying.
is destiny,
It
not a
is-
Tower Casuals.
It is. You know what? The Browns just need to win 2 more games, and we play the Giants and the Jets and the Steelers. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna get there.
I thought we were going to beat the Giants.
Yeah, well,
It's not as easy as you'd think.
so
We have football team on Sunday. We have football team.
can we?
Again, not as easy as you'd think.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we're playing them at FedEx too, so I'm a little scared.
Hmm.
I want Russell to break his foot on that turf.
Josh,
Josh,
get us started, please. That's
get us going.
we're talking Destiny here. I think still.
We will eventually.
Now,
Wow.
No, but guys, this year was a really packed year for Destiny. For as rough as the year started out, I think we ended in a really, really, really good place.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this year, the last 2 seasons specifically, best time to be a Destiny fan. I'm gonna say it, and I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna say it.
I don't think so necessarily. I think the growing pains that the game went through, particularly over the last 12 months, is something that needed to happen.
I think they need to figure out how to work on their own too. You know, without
Right. That's what a lot of this really was, because we know that Shadowkeep, Season of the Undying, and most of Season of Dawn was ready by the time the split was finalized from Activision. And so Season of the Worthy was a really rough patch. I don't think I would be alone in saying that's probably one of the 2 or 3 roughest times that the franchise has had. Just in terms of new content, it was a drought. It was very bad. It was all based around a public event that already wasn't fun. And then when they did the new version of it halfway through the season, it was literally impossible to get done, unless you had a full fire team of like 9 and you had to cheese it. But Arrivals to me showed what a season needs to be going forward.
Arrivals was fantastic. It took everything that we like about a season, and I think it perfected it. Yeah, fantastic.
'Cause I liked Dawn at the beginning of the year. I loved the Saint 14 story missions. My only complaint about those missions was you couldn't go back and replay them. And I think those would have been so cool to have put into the heroic story rotation, alongside kind of like how Ace of Spades is in there or was in there. I think you needed 2 Saint 14 missions in there. going into the corridors, I know a lot of people hated the corridors puzzle. I love the community puzzles. And I think really the only reason people got super upset about it is because, oh, we already knew Bastion was coming. There's no secret reward. Who the fuck cares? Like, we still had to band together to do this puzzle. And it is a really cool scene that you get when you walk upon your own tomb. When you get there and you hear Saint delivering your eulogy, and he still holds out hope that somewhere the Guardian is out there and can hear him and change fate. And that's when you get Bastion. And he's shocked when you have it. Like, that is the kind of storytelling I think you need in a season. Arrivals took that and dialed it up to 11. It was the perfect blend of narrative, a public event that was accessible for just about anybody. If you played for about a half hour, you could get enough gear to be able to do it competently. It taught you mechanics that you would later need to know for the Prophecy Dungeon. And the means to an end quests, listen, as repetitive as they were, you could have just done those first 3 and then come back for the Nocris one. We didn't know we'd get all the lore entries given to us eventually, so people like me played 15 weeks in a row, and it was terrible. I maintain that Arrivals would be looked at just a little bit better had it actually ended on time and not been extended out another 10 weeks. I think that was rough for anything, but you couldn't exactly start Season of the Hunt ahead of time either. I don't think there was any way to really do that.
One of my biggest gripes with Bungie and Destiny as a whole is that lore, I feel like, has always been inaccessible. The thing that I really like about the last 2 or 3 seasons, even going into Beyond Light, which I don't know if we really covered there, is that they have been really generous with lore stuff in the actual missions that you're taking part in. I thought so to be honest, I didn't play that much of Season of the Worthy, the couple seasons preceding that. I came back really, really hard in Season of Arrivals. And what I really liked about it is that there was just so much lore and so much story content to really absorb with that. And they were really pushing that like front and center. You didn't have to like fish for it. You didn't have to go to, any third-party websites to try to read about it. It was all just there for the taking, which is a big change from, at least in my opinion, as somebody who doesn't digest lore maybe as thoroughly as some other people. It was a big change for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, speaking of lore changes, I really like something they did in Beyond Light is every book of lore that was previously in the game is automatically completely unlocked for you. And they've tied so many of the lore pieces now to specific triumphs in the triumph section, and you can see exactly what you need to do in order to unlock the next page. But if you don't have the means to be able to do it, for example, like some people just aren't going to be able to do those endgame activities, or they don't want to grind out, like 500 kills with the Season of the Hunt weapons or something, like maybe somebody doesn't like doing precision linear fusion kills. I don't blame you. And when you look at that, they've said, that's fine. When the season is over, we're going to automatically give the lore to everybody. We want everybody to be up to date. And there's so much more story being given, even if it's just like, hey, go here and investigate this. Like, for example, the Hawkmoon quest. I was waiting. I was waiting for the caca. Caca! You told me you were going to do it every time I talked about
I know,
Hawkmoon.
I was waiting for it.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to come.
No. You're good. When you do the Hawkmoon quest and you go into Crow's little room off to the side, you can scan everything in there, and there's a story behind it all. Down to the Bungie sleeping bag and the Dawning Bowl, and I think that's something that not everyone's going to find, but it's so many little hints and nods to things like the sheet that he was wrapped in when we killed him, and he was buried at the Dreaming City. And he's like, I woke up with this. It was my first possession. Like, I was cold and alone, but I had this, and Glint was with me. And then he has the Dawning Bowl that Glint gave him that we had referenced in last year's Dawning lore with the ship. It's just these little pieces that they plant, and they're finally coming back around to. Like, and we're going to get into this particular story a bit later, but like Elsie being from the future and talking about what happens in her future and what she's been trying to avert ever since running into us in Destiny 1. Like, we are given the implication that the Traveler sent her back in time with its power, like its last grasp of energy in the future to prevent this. And she determined that we are the crux point where everything happens. And I think things like that, like we're finally getting explained to us why our Guardian is always at the center of things, why we seem to be so cosmically important to this universe. Why is it so easy for us to go do these things canonically, but it isn't for other characters?
Yeah.
And
that's always been like the one thing that I've been like, why are we like the pinnacle of what Guardians can do, right? But we're still kind of like, I don't know, taking orders from Zavala and Saladin. Like, I mean, not like we're going to try to overthrow them or anything, but just like, we're clearly like the greatest thing ever created to these Guardians and stuff. And it's like, and to really kind of have like a story, like a lore reason kind of coming to a head is kind of like really cool to see. Like, oh yeah, okay, this is why this is happening.
It's something that's like really subtly been happening over the course of Destiny 2, where Zavala has more and more, like, he's asked us to do things and we basically just say no. Like, for example, Cade Six's death. He puts an order that nobody is to go to the reef. We do it anyways. We go hunting the Barons. And he's pissed when we get back to the tower. He's like, I don't know yet what consequences your actions are going to have on the rest of us. And it's part of this thing, like, there are consequences for our Guardian's action, and like we're starting to see some of those play out now. You know, with us rescuing Varix and Beyond Light, with us doing what the Stranger asks us to do. Like, Zavala doesn't want us to use the Darkness at all. Saladin is straight up pissed that we're using it. And the difference is, though, Zavala sees, like, okay, you're using this as a means to an end and as a tool. Like, let's try not to use it too much, though. Like, maybe you could give it up one day or something. And I'm like, nope. I have new grenades in the Crucible. Shax told me to throw grenades. I'm throwing
I was going to say, nobody in the Crucible got that memo from Zavala.
But, I mean, like, you look at the evolution of characters like Drifter over the past year. Like, how much he's really come to the forefront of the narrative. When he's just kind of like the shadowy guy when you get introduced to him in Forsaken. Joker's Wild built him out some with the Zur bounties that you did. You got the flashbacks to him and Paladin Orin, who's the agent of the Nine, we find out. You had that build out, but really in Season of Arrivals, him and Eris like kind of just take center stage and run with it. Like, they are automatically there. Boom. Like, we know that he helped build the time machine the sundial that we used to go and rescue Saint with. We know he helped Osiris build it. He built the banks for Season of Arrivals. He's chilling on Europa with the Darkness Vanguard. Like, he's here for it. He's just like, yo, I've been telling you since day one. Gambit was, that was me training you. Like, that wasn't just me saying it. Like, the Darkness is here, buddy. Like, I'm now convinced he is the first person who has seen the creatures that the Darkness is going to produce eventually, the Veil. I'm convinced from the lore he is, but they're putting all these little building blocks in that we won't even see the full effects of for maybe another year or two.
The one thing...
Savathun is real quick. Like, Savathun's dipping her fingers, and we got Zivo Wrath here. Like, things are picking up faster than any of us thought right now. So, go ahead, Nerd.
Well, what I was going to say is that you're hitting on a very important point, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, is, like, so many of these things that, like... I think Bungie is really learning how Destiny players like to take story points in. I think in Destiny 1, story and lore were very inaccessible. I don't know if you guys would agree. And I would even say in early Destiny 2, story and lore, very inaccessible. But they're finally learning how to tell a story and how to present very important parts of their narrative front and center for people to absorb. Yeah. And I think, especially with character storytelling, they've gotten really, really good. You hit on some really important points with, like, the Drifter really kind of stepping in and taking really, like, center stage for a big part of the season.
He's taking that Cade role in a lot of ways.
Yep. And having, like, the storyline with Elsie and Anna and, like, those were fantastic story points when Beyond Light came out. I wasn't expecting that kind of storytelling around those two characters. So, like, I think Bungie is finally really hitting their stride and learning how to storytell and how to build their world, and I'm super excited going into.
The world has never felt more alive than it does now.
100% agree.
I mean, you look at it, like, we all said it, that we were hoping the world would change in some way when the Deepstone Crypt was beaten, like it was with Last Wish. That initiated the Curse of the Dreaming City, which may finally come to an end in the next year. Who knows? But now having the Eclipsed Zone and like, oh, you get super stasis powers in there, like that makes it so much more fun to like go. Like I want to throw on stasis in those areas now, and like, you know, run around, just beat people with my ice picks. Like I have a lot of fun doing that. But it makes some of the challenges a lot more fun too. Like there's new things that rotate throughout there. And that's the kind of stuff I want from this. I want this to feel like a world that's alive, but without so much FOMO. And I think the way they're taking seasons is they're finally learning that. Like Arrivals, we didn't feel the pressure because it was so long. Even without it being so long, I don't think I would have panicked. I could have easily dipped for like a month or two, come back, still enjoyed myself and had a good time. The meat of it was going and trying to get those weapons after the second Exodus quest dropped, to get the Icolo Shoddy, or not the Shoddy, the Sniper and the SMG, get first and last out, and then go get the weapons, Death Adder and the Icolo Shoddy out of Prophecy. Like, that's where the meat of the content really came from, and it was there if you wanted to get it. If you didn't, I think they realized the error of their ways real fast. This should have been in there from day one with Beyond Light. Those weapons now drop randomly for you in the world, as they should. If you want them the season of, you're gonna be able to get different roles and grind out as many as you want. If you wait, you'll still get them, but you're not gonna get a preference. And I think that's how it should be. It keeps those hardcore players engaged in a gameplay loop, but then tells them once you've got your stuff, you can dip for a little bit and come back. Mm-hmm. And that they're gonna leave the seasonal stuff up all year long for you to do. That, I think, is the crucial thing. 12 months for each season will be active.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to... Oh, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say was what I think that they really landed on with, and they started it in Season of Arrivals, and I think they're hitting their stride right now, is... they've really landed on a good cadence in terms of pace and in terms of both lore and loot and moving the story forward. I really like the interference mission from last season and how it kind of progressed, and like it was a repetitive thing, but every like 2-3 weeks it would change just a little bit. We get a little more story. We get some different loot from different things.
I liked it until I did it like 16 weeks in a row.
Correct, but
even with those changes, it got real repetitive.
Oh, I agree 100%.
So,
like it was.
I was fine with it for about 5
mission.
or 6, and then I was like, "Oh my god, I'm doing this for my pinnacle," and that's it.
But I would argue that you and I are more hardcore Destiny players than most.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, we're doing a podcast here.
For the average player, it's probably more paced out. I've kind of lost my train of thought on this one, but what I wanted to present with this was like the pacing of everything. I think has gotten a lot better over the last few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think the pacing for Season of Arrivals would have been better, like Josh said, if it wasn't extended by 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, it was. And I think they even made the best of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they added the end of season event at the end, which we all kind of knew was coming, but it was the build up to it was nice. They added the Nokris thing at the end, which, granted, was like 4 or 5 weeks longer than probably what it should be. I mean, Season of Arrivals was way too long, but it helped that it was probably one of the best loot seasons for us. In a long
it was
time.
Absolutely. I mean,
since
it gave us
Opulence, I think, was probably the best.
It gave us plenty of time to farm those weapons too.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't get a God Roll right at the beginning, you had no excuse by the time that season ended, if you were a hardcore player, not to understand what was going to be the meta going forward, to not have the good weapons. Like if you didn't have a good Falling Guillotine, Ikelos, SMG, the Sniper, and well, I mean, yeah, Xeno. I'm talking mainly about the stuff that like kind of went away, like the legendaries that you could get. But yeah, I mean, then you, I guess we'll shift to the exotics of the year or two. Like over the last 12 to 14 months, you've had. I feel like they've established an identity with making exotics special again. Because I'll tell you right now, like Ariana's Vow was fine. It was cool. Hand cannon with a scope. All right, that's kind of dope. But and Symmetry was fine. Tommy's Matchbook was fine. When you hit Season of Arrivals, though, Wither Horde, Ruinous Effigy, and Traveler's Chosen. Incredible.
Yes.
Beyond Light, you got Cloud Strike, you got Lament,
Yes.
you got Salvation Script. Like, and all have different functions.
Hawkmoon.
I mean, yeah, Caca.
I was waiting for the caca. Okay, I did it for the.
We got Hawkmoon now. We got Duality is awesome. A season pass exotic should feel special. You're paying that money to get that, like to get it early. Otherwise, you get it at level 35. It should feel special. It should feel really cool. I don't want another reprised weapon. If you're going to reprise a weapon from Destiny 1, make it special like Hawkmoon. You know, make it something really cool. I don't want you to just don't throw Thor and Last Word, you know, Ace. Quit throwing hand cannons at me, guys. Just stop. Like you're at your best when you're so unique. Like Bastion is a truly unique fusion. Like I love these things. Devil's Ruin is awesome. It shoots a freaking Spartan laser out of it. That's so cool. Well, I love that. I love Divinity. Like there are so many unique things. Eyes of Tomorrow. Like there's so many unique things that are being done in this game.
We've talked about this before, I think, in episodes that I've even been on. Like the one thing that I think Bungie's done really well over the last few seasons is really honing in on and getting us some really unique and exotic weapons.
I mean, that's even extending to legendaries now, though, too.
Well, see, I think I agree, and we could get into a whole discussion about legendaries, and I think the problem with that is sort of like the pinnacle weapons going away, and we can argue whether or not that those should have been maybe exotics to begin with, but I really want to focus on like the exotic weapon pool specifically. Is like once one and done kind of perks are really exciting. Like Ruinous Effigy was a really exciting weapon. Like you could do whole builds around it. Like I had a whole Void, Nezarec Sin build around that weapon specifically. And I've never been a big, what is it? Is that a trace rifle, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never been a big trace rifle fan before that. Like Cold Heart, Prometheus Lead's never been a huge fan. But that one specifically like really appealed to me because you could like build around it. They've done a really fantastic job of doing, finding some really one and done kind of like specific perks for these weapons. I think if they can continue with that and they can get back to doing some legendaries that are kind of cool and unique, that would be great.
Yeah, I like that trace rifles are still exotics. Like there's not a non-exotic trace rifle in the game. And I think that helps make them more special when they show up. Like you had Cold Heart, you had Promethean Lens, and you had Wave Splitter. None of those were really that special, though. Then,
Prometheus Lens was special for a weekend.
for like a week.
Okay, unintentionally special. But then you have something like Divinity that has fundamentally changed the way that we do boss encounters.
True.
Right?
True.
And like I know it's a joke. Like nobody likes being the Divinity bitch, but I actually really don't mind it because, like, I know what my role clearly defined is. I know what I need to save my ammo for, and I really don't mind it. Like, I would rather be playing support as a hunter, frankly. Like, I like that. And there are ways to adapt to everybody's playstyle. Like, you can run around and beat the shit out of things with Lament or Fall like Guillotine. Like, Guillotine being so overpowered is hilarious to me because you're only hurting yourself if that's your only strat for a boss is to just rush it with Guillotine.
But
like that's going to be sunset in 6 to 8 months. And
that's what separates this game from some of the other like console MMO genres. Like for example, I was really into The Division for a while. There are very few weapons in Division that you can play that have like a very support specific purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are some enthusiasts out there who will correct me, and that's fine. But like Divinity and Lumina, for example, are two very specific exotics in this game.
I forgot about Lumina. Yep.
Yeah, they give you a very specific role in whatever encounter you're working within that changed the game fundamentally. And I mean, Josh, you and I raid very frequently, and you always take on the Divinity guy role. And there have been some encounters that we would not have been able to clear nearly as easy without you doing that.
Yep.
So I mean, it changes the game fundamentally for a lot of people and a lot of groups. So I mean, it's a separating factor for this game.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, like, it's another one of those things that, like, because and a gun like Divinity, like, it's not just handed to you. Like, that is a hard gun to get.
Yeah, it's a hell of a quest.
You have to do a lot of puzzles inside, and you have to get everybody to agree to do those puzzles with you, too. Like, I'll tell you right now, like, I'm not going to do it for everybody that I know. There's just no way. Like, that adds another hour at least onto your raid time, because there are a couple of those puzzles you're not going to get on the first couple tries.
Like, there's a reason I haven't done it, is because
pain in the ass. And then on top of that, you still got to clear the raid, which that boss, if you don't have the mods, is a pain in the ass. I don't have the mods. That's why I'm not exactly excited to go back and do it. And it's another one of those, like, everybody's got to be so on point. Like, when they come to endgame expectations, I think they heard the criticism of Garden of Salvation, which was it's got one of the worst mechanics ever in Destiny. The tether is the absolute worst thing you have ever put into a raid. It is the most obnoxious. It is the most finicky. It disconnects all the time. Maybe it's fair with the 60 frames now, but all I know is trying to do that on console at 30 frames was atrocious. It would drop all the time. The frames would drop all the time in the boss encounter. You think you were looking at one thing, you're really looking at something else. It's terrible. But then they went and made things more accessible this past year. Like, after that, everything started to get more accessible, I think. Like, Prophecy is night and day from what I would expect from the team that did Garden of Salvation. Deepstone Crypt is night and day from what I expect out of the raid team. Like, Deepstone Crypt is so... And I didn't expect this to be the most accessible. I thought for sure Vault was going to be introduced as this is the easiest raid for newcomers to do. I did not think it would be the one tied to the major expansion 2 weeks after launch.
I thought Deepstone Crypt, just because, like, we've been talking about it since, like, literally Destiny 1, really. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought Deepstone Crypt was going to be, like, the hardcore Taken King style.
I did too.
Raid. Like, that's really what I thought it was going to be.
Can I just say how excited I am to have the Vault of Glass being reintroduced to the game? And this is somebody who's never done Vault, keep in mind. Have Vault be reintroduced to the game on the heels of something like Deepstone Crypt, where we got more people doing day one raids and doing, raid clears than probably ever before. So that means the raid kind of population going into Vault is probably going to be the strongest that it ever has been before. And that's exciting for a PvE community going into when that comes out. I'm really excited. I don't want to start the whole conversation around that, but, like, I'm super excited with, having Deepstone and how accessible it was. I think Bungie's finally landed on a good schedule for releasing a new raid. Yeah. I think they finally figured that out. And then going into Vault, we're gonna have a good community going into that raid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, my personal thing, like, with the end game, I think the end game is what took the biggest step forward this year.
Yeah.
There was something for everyone. I think that if you can get on a
PvP.
schedule, do what?
Except trials.
Except trials. If you can have a new endgame experience or a refresh of sorts every other season, I think you're doing good. Like, for example, we had Prophecy in the summer. You had Deepstone drop. Deepstone would have dropped in September. And then I think that Vault would have ended up dropping probably in March with the true spring season. Now, with everything being pushed back, I think Vault is probably coming in April. April or May time frame. It won't be this next season. It'll be the one after that. The one with Transmog is when it'll likely come.
Did they, speaking of pushing things back, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like, are they still planning on the Witch Queen coming out in September? Or are they going to start doing November releases now because everything got shifted?
To my knowledge, they're still planning on September. We don't really know their plan. I think they're just going to do shortened seasons going forward. I think they're going to chop a couple weeks off each one because they got to make up about 10 weeks of time.
Right.
But I would also argue, like, it kind of depends on when they can get back in the studio, because I think that'll cause a little bit more cohesion. Let's not lose sight of the fact that this expansion shipped, and multiple seasons have now shipped while working from home. Now, granted, most of Arrivals was developed. Hunt was probably partially developed, and I think it's part of why it's a little half-baked.
Mm-hmm.
I think they chose to focus on Beyond Light and probably whatever comes after this for the spring season, which if I was in leadership, I probably would have done something similar. Be like, okay, it's better to have a slightly half-baked season come out with the meat of your expansion. Like when people are still 6 weeks in, still discovering new things. Like we just got raid challenges this week. We got prophecy back this week. Like when we're still doing things like that 6-7 weeks in, I think that's a testament to a $40 release that you put out.
Mm-hmm. Again, what's really exciting, I mean, okay, I'm going to say this, like I'm really excited for the future of Destiny. I don't want to like we can recap this at the end, but like what's exciting to me is they did all this development from a work from home environment. That, and what I imagine, as somebody who personally works in a software development field, I work for a software development company, and we've had to make a lot of adjustments due to COVID and working from home. I imagine Bungie's probably did the same, so that makes them even more flexible moving forward. So my hope is the next season that we get, regardless of whether they're working from home or whether they're working from the studio, you know, whatever the future brings, is that they'll be just as flexible and be able to pivot and be able to make, you know, this content that we're, you know, hoping for and expecting for no matter where they are. And I'm really excited to see what they come up with, because I think they're going to be a lot more flexible moving forward.
Well, and speaking of flexibility, I mean, I think that extends to what we see in the game too, not just the work environment, but look at how we got half the Cosmodrome with Beyond Light, and they've already said the other half is going to come in season 13 next season, along with 2 more strikes. This now shows they can update things, they can put in new playlist activities in off seasons, even if it's just strike reprisals or unvaulting something. That's exciting to me. I mean, we've seen the teases now showing up in the Moon Lost sectors about Venus, and like, shit, are they just gonna drop Venus on us out of nowhere when we get the Vault of Glass?
There's all the back end changes that they made too that a lot of us didn't really know. I'll be honest, I didn't know about all the back end changes they were making going into Beyond Light that now allow them to just like flexibly fix all these things and potentially add in new things and fix things very dynamically, which is really exciting. I thought that was really cool. I frankly, I mean, there are people that have their opinions on what Beyond Light was and whether or not it was enough and blah 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 blah. I frankly,
but that happens. I feel like that happens with every expansion though. Like people complain that there's not enough content, but it's always the people who stream 14 hours a day the first week and a half, and it's like. I'm like overwhelmed with stuff to do, and I play like for a whole month. I played like at least 2 or 3 hours a night, and like on the weekends I would play like 5 or 6, and I'm like, there's still too much to do. Like I did all this stuff on Europa, and I hadn't even started the hunts. Like I forgot all the stuff on the Tangled Shore was even there, and then I was playing with my friend Mitch, and I was like, oh, we need to do these hunts, so I guess we have to do that now. You know what I mean? Like I kind of felt like there was a lot to do.
I agree. I mean, I played a substantial amount. I've basically played very little but Destiny. I mean, we talked a little bit about Cyberpunk coming in at the front of the podcast. I mean, I've played very little other games, very few other games but Destiny going into the last like month and a half, and I feel like I've played it probably just as much as most like mid-tier content creators have, and I haven't run out of things to do. I think it's all about perspective, and really what your expectations are. And I'm sure that your expectations change when you've done this for, 3 or 4 seasons, 3 or 4 years, maybe since Destiny 1, you've been playing just like, 18 hours a day, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But like, I'm happy with the amount of content there was. I haven't run out of things to do, and I think if they keep this cadence going forward, I'm going to be happy.
This week, I'll be honest, or last week, excuse me, was the first week where I don't think I played Destiny like 4 out of 7 days.
Same.
And that's fine. And that's because I hit it so hard when it first came out. I was playing it every single day. I mean, like, Joe and I were talking about this, like, thank God Halo got delayed, because we would have had a hell of a hard time trying to decide. And then you throw Cyberpunk into that mix for me. For me and you, all of us really, before Cyberpunk got royally fucked. But I think it's a testament to what a good game Bungie has made. Like in the past, I haven't hesitated to put it on the back burner. Like I did not play Rise of Iron when it first came out. I played the expansion and I dipped. I didn't even bother with the raid for like an entire year. I played it right before Destiny 2. I did Taken King. I dipped for an entire over a year. I swore I was done with Destiny after that. Like, I don't want to keep wasting my time and my money on this. Since Forsaken, though, I've been caught in this gameplay loop. And it was where, I'm going to take a few weeks off. I'm going to come back partway through Black Armory. Or I'm going to skip all Jokers for a while and come back for Opulence. Since Opulence, I don't think I've taken a significant break from this game. I've taken a week or two here and there to play other things. And I mean, even right now, I was like, oh, thank God, I can take a break and just play Cyberpunk. And then I realized the Dawning started this week. I'm like, fuck, I got to go back and play the Dawning now. Like,
I feel like they've had a really
problem. It's a good problem to have.
I feel like they've had a really good cadence since Beyond Light came out.
Yeah.
I mean, with every other week, there's something substantial.
I mean, like we said, like last week was Prophecy and Iron Banner, and I was like, oh man, I want to play both of these, and I was like, but Cyberpunk comes out Wednesday night. Like something's got to give. Yeah, I did the Hawkmoon quest. I rushed to get through that and play some Iron Banner, and I was like, all right, well, Iron Banner will be back around, but I got to play Cyberpunk before I get spoiled. Knowing that these things will be here for me, though, they're not going to go away on me in a few weeks.
Yeah, and that's how I felt. Like
that's the important thing.
Like I'll probably continue to play Destiny like once a week, like because like I feel like I've gotten my fill of the expansion. Unless we're like gonna go raid or, some new seasonal quest drop or whatever. I'm working on the Hawkmoon quest right now, but like I didn't have a problem taking the week off last week and diving into just Cyberpunk and a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Hyrule Warriors and stuff. Like I've been playing other games and like I still played 1 or 2 days of Destiny, but I'm like, you know what? I've put this time in. Unless we're gonna go raid, I feel comfortable, going to play other stuff. And that's what they kind of said. Like they've said that for a long time. They're like, we want you to go play other things and come back to Destiny when you're ready, right? And I think dropping some new things every couple weeks, or like I think the seasonal model really helps with that too. Like every time a new season drops, you can play it for 2-3 weeks, get your fill and dip out, and I think that's really good.
I think it goes back. I mean, it's really interesting right now in the gaming industry and in the media right now with what we're seeing. There's a lot of discussion over what a $60, $70 potentially, in the future game should be. With something like we keep talking about Cyberpunk, but I think it's a relevant conversation.
It is.
I came back. So we just spent how much on Beyond Light back in November. Was it November? Yeah, November. Yeah. $60 on that expansion.
Well, it's really like August for me, but
right. Some people pre-ordered it early. Then we spent $60 on that. Then a few weeks later, the Dawning comes out. I just spent $15 on shader on armor sets. Like, if you provide a meaningful product, people will buy it and people will come back.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be significant. It just has to be meaningful to that particular person or that particular group. And I think that's important. It doesn't have to be constant. It doesn't have to be profound. You just have to have something every now and then that's meaningful to come back for. And I think they're doing a great job with that. Yeah, this week I played a little bit of Destiny today, a couple the other day. I'm not playing 8-10 hours like I was a day a couple weeks ago, but like it's meaningful to come back for a little bit here and there, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I think they've given you reasons. And we've heard the devs say, we've heard people from Bungie say, like, we don't want you to only play our game. We want you to experience other things. But we have them, like, they've tweaked their model. Like, I think one of the big things was Luke Smith coming out partway through Season of Dawn and going, we know that the seasonal model that we have as it is now is not going to work. We are already making changes to it. Unfortunately, most of the content is already developed for this year. We can't really alter it too much. We can alter it some for the summer. We definitely can't for Season of Worthy. But going forward, starting this fall, you're going to see a change. And I think you are. Like, we have the seasonal storyline with Crow, Spider, and Osiris right now. but you're going to be able to access stuff like the Wrathborn hunts all year. You're going to be able to access those weapons all year. And I think that's important. So, like, if you want to dip for a while, you can always come back and do stuff. Like, I may sit out the back half of this season. Who knows? Like, I've got plenty of other stuff I want to play right now. Like, I'm getting Assassin's Creed at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting Fire Emblem. I want to, I want to play so many other things.
Yeah, I have like 4 games on my list right now that I want to get through because it's.
Yeah, but like Nerd was saying, it's such a good loop that I keep finding myself wanting to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I keep wanting to I want to come hang out with my friends. I want to, I want to raid. I want to go I didn't want to raid the other night. I wanted to, but Colonel and Nerd were looking for somebody to jump in and do the dungeon. I was like, hell yeah, I'll come do Prophecy. Mm-hmm. We did in and out in 45 minutes, did a couple matches of Crucible. We hung out for like a little over an hour, and it was great. I got my fix in for the night. I went back, played a little bit of Cyberpunk after, then I went to bed. Like, it's not, oh my God, I got to spend hours doing 3 runs back to back to back. Like, I want to do that all the time. Like, I want to do a run occasionally, but if I miss a week doing the raid, okay, cool. I'll get back to it. Like, there's no timetable on when I have to finish these seals. Like, that's just something fun for me to chase. Like, I like the extra stuff to chase that's there for the people who want to go the extra mile, who got to do absolutely everything. But it's not essential to 99% of us, and I love that.
Well, it's cool, yeah. I mean, it's cool is that you don't have to digest all that content as quickly as we have. I mean, there are people who are probably still working through the Beyond Light campaign who may not have even stepped foot into Deepstone Crypt yet.
I mean, our friend Ray, I was playing with him earlier, and he, he's just now, he picked it up when it came out because he heard me raving about it that week. Yep. He did a couple of the missions and then set it down because there was so much other stuff. You got Miles Morales, he had Demon Souls, he had so many other things to get to. And now he's like, well, with Cyberpunk being as broken as it is, he goes, I'm not even going to boot it up. He's like, I'm going to wait until it's completely fixed and just play it with the next gen patch next year. He's like, I'm going to get back into Destiny. He's like, I'm, even if it's just for like a couple weeks, I'm going to come hang out with y'all. Like, dude, go for it. Like, start playing. Call me if you need help. Like, I'll come jump in there with you. I'll kill a few bosses. But it's things like that. Like, people are consistently discovering this. And this just goes back to everything we talked about with the gameplay loop, the accessible end game now, the just awesome exotic quests that they've got going on. The legendary lost sectors has been a huge boon to people like us who want to chase the exotics and not wait for them to be at Xur. I'm sure Xur will have Cloud Strike, like the new gauntlets, the new helmet. I'm sure he'll have them in the next season or two. But I'd rather go do the legendary lost sectors now for that extra challenge. Doing it solo because, like, what? I guess I get to assert something to myself that nobody else gets to see. Like, oh, I did this. And then it's like, oh, I've done this 10 times and still haven't gotten that goddamn sniper rifle, which is my experience, by the way. I have tried to get Cloud Strike. I have done no less than 30 of the weekly Empire hunts and have yet to get it to drop. But for every Cloud Strike scenario, you have a Lament or a Salvation Script, which I thought were both really good quests. You have a Hawk Moon. Like, I don't know. Like, you have a Traveler's Chosen. You have a Ruinous Effigy. Like, it's just so good. The loop that they've gotten into is so good. And that's why I hate... One of my biggest gripes with this community is hearing how much people gripe about Eververse. It's like, listen, I have been an anti-microtransaction person for as long as I can possibly remember. I was against the horse armor back in Oblivion. I remember those memes, like, loud and clear. Like, that's what turned me off to microtransactions for good. Even the Skyrim stuff, Fallout 3 and Skyrim packs, like, I didn't buy for so long because it's a microtransaction, and in my mind, those were bad.
Right.
Like, I waited until they were $3 on the Xbox store 2 years after coming out before I decided to pick up the things for Skyrim. And, blew through them right before I got my Xbox One. Like, then you've got something like Destiny where I don't mind buying the DLC up front. I buy the season pass with the expansion just straight up because I know I'm going to keep coming back to it. But I don't mind spending the occasional couple of bucks in Eververse, knowing how much I'm enjoying the game, and I feel like I'm getting much more than $60 worth out of this game ultimately. Yeah. Like, when you look at the season pass and the expansion, it's usually around $60-$70. I feel like I get way more than that with the amount of hours I put into this game a year, the memories I make with my friends, the raids, the dungeons, the late night Crucible, like the cursing at Trials of Osiris, like, just all the wacky things that we get to do, and continually bringing other friends. And my girlfriend likes to play. And you want to talk about value? It's part of Game Pass now. It's Game Pass on Xbox. It's gonna be Game Pass on PC in the spring. I don't think you can ask for a better deal right now. Like, there's no Nerd said this at the beginning, but there has never been a more accessible time and a better time to jump back into this ecosystem. And I think he hit it spot on. I think Beyond Light is that perfect chance. If you've never played or you've been lapsed for 2 years like Ray, this is a great chance to get back in, experience what's new with weapons, experience Armor 2.0, get ready for transmogging.
Or even if you dipped after vanilla Destiny, right? Like, or Destiny 2, I guess. Like you can, if you have Game Pass and you're not looking to be the hardcore player, there's 3 full campaigns you can play through, right? And
I will say the one thing that I think, because I like the idea of the content vault, I think you needed to take things out and make this game a little bit smaller. It was really big, especially for console hard drives. It was really big for people who didn't want to go get an external. And now, I mean, like, maybe if Sony and Microsoft decide to say eventually, hey, we will allow you to run games off of an external hard drive as long as it meets our certain read and write standards, and has the NVMe4 in it or something, just like it has for the expansion card. If they ever allow you to do that, like when that's proprietary here in about a year and a half, 2 years, it's like in full production for everybody, that's the new standard, then I could see Bungie saying, see, this was just temporary, everything's back in the game. Because I mean, I saw a post today on Twitter, my name is Vife retweeted it. Somebody was asking a friend, they're like, I'm really enjoying Destiny, I jumped in, I'm just playing, like, I got the new light download, I really like it, but I did this strike, and there was the lady who does the clan stuff was talking, there was this other guy named Cade, like, who the hell is Cade? And I was like, I didn't think about it that way. Cade is still randomly in a couple of these strikes, and then he gets killed off at the very beginning of Forsaken, and it's, new players, I think, are going to be like, why the hell are you guys still mad about this guy named Cade? Like, other than the fact he was voiced by Nathan Fillion, and it's like, well, because Cade was he was the emotional center of the franchise for us up to that point. And I think, thankfully, with that universe building, you've had people like Eris, Drifter, Elsie, Ana step up and take that place. Like, it's a whole cast of characters now. Zavala may be just as stoic as he always is, but he's at least getting stuff to do in the seasonal narratives and in some of these cutscenes and stuff. Ikora still gets to do fuck all. Like, I think they just forgot that she exists.
I know. So, like, where is she? I mean, I know she's in the tower.
The speculation I've heard is because Gina Torres just is not free.
She's not available. They've had a lot of trouble. And again, like, kudos to Bungie for having some of these other characters kind of step up. Nolan North, just step up and, like, take a lot of the narrative centerpiece away. Like, we've had, even the Drifter. That's the reason why they did that mission where Ghost emulated Drifter, or did his impression of the Drifter, is because they couldn't get the voice actor to be scheduled to do the lines.
That mission was hilarious, by the way.
Working around a lot of that stuff. Oh, it's fantastic! It's great. It turned out to be one of the best missions in Beyond Light. Frankly, I think one of the things that they could do to help iron out some of the kinks in that, like Josh was saying, with these new players who don't know who some of these old characters are, who don't know who some of these old enemies are, like Oryx and Crota and stuff like that, is really give us an accessible ability, give us an accessible point for, like, cutscenes and, like, catch-up cutscenes. They've always done a fantastic job of doing these animated kind of, like, drawing cutscenes where they kind of describe what's going on. They could do some of those for Forsaken. They could do some of those for stuff that happened in Shadowkeep, since Shadowkeep is basically, pointless at this point. There's a lot that they could do. I think that's if I had to give them any criticism, that's what that, and, like, the weapons and armor that were in those expansions, they could figure out ways to reintroduce those and reintroduce the story points in those expansions that are technically still part of the game but aren't really.
I do think that eventually, and I think it requires us fully abandoning Xbox One and PS4, which I'm on the record of saying I think it's happening with Witch Queen. You got to cut the cord at some point. You got to cut.
You
the
really
apron
think it's going to happen
strings.
that early?
I do think it's going to happen that early because I think there is a stark contrast right now to how the game plays on next gen and how it plays on last gen. It is.
I don't think it'll happen.
I think it has to. I
think with Lightfall, maybe. I don't think the Witch Queen's going to cut it.
I think it'll be Witch Queen. You have more of these consoles you are going to have way more of these consoles in circulation than you did when Witch Queen comes out. Is the exact same amount of time, 10 months after launch, that Destiny launched last generation. And they had support for 360 and PS3, but only for the base game and for Taken King. They literally said they could not get Rise of Iron to work on those consoles. I think you're going to run into a similar situation.
So, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. I don't disagree that they should. I think any game as a service should really, discard old hardware bottlenecks as much as possible. I agree with you. The reason why I think they probably won't, and I think the Game Pass kind of partnership is really what I'm going to base this argument around, is like Microsoft's whole thing right now is like, hey, like you can play this content, you can play these games no matter what console you're on.
Yeah, but they've kind of rolled that back though. I mean, you look at Flight Simulator. They said they were going to support Xbox One for 18 months at least after Xbox Series X comes out. Flight Simulator coming out in summer. No mention of Xbox One anywhere.
So while you're playing devil's advocate, I'm going to tell you, I kind of felt the same way. I had been making the prediction that I felt like it was going to happen, but I didn't really care either way. Two things in the month of December have changed that thinking for me over the last 3 weeks. One was us getting the next gen patch. I think we've all said, the 60 frames, the 120 in the Crucible,
never going back.
Field of View slider.
Good.
This is the way the game was meant to be played. Yes. We're finally on par with PC.
That's so good.
But, and I hate to keep coming back to this, but the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk on last gen consoles. Corey said, Microsoft is already reevaluating how they're going to do this, because Flight Sim was originally announced for Xbox One back in 2018, and now it's not going to come there, or excuse me, 2019, and now it's not going to come to that. It's going to come to Series X and PC only.
And people are just to be on that same point, fans are already asking 343 to ditch the Xbox One version of Halo.
I was one who was like, I don't know if you should walk that back. I think the PR will be really bad. Ironically, now I think that would be good PR for them in wake of everything happening, to be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're getting rid of the Xbox One version of Infinite, because I've heard some speculation, and I don't know how accurate it is, that is part of the reason why Infinite had to be delayed so far, was that, yeah, sure, it needed a graphical overhaul on PC and on Series X, but it simply was not running on Xbox One. And I don't blame you. You're trying to get a game to work on base hardware that was developed in 2011 and released in 2013. I think that's where I'm coming at with Destiny, is eventually Bungie is going to want to work with some new tools. I get that you're really working with tools that you developed in between Destiny 1 and 2. You're using a modified version of the Destiny 1 engine. But still, you are still trying to get these new expansions coming out in 2021 to work on hardware from a decade ago. And that just simply is not going to work after a certain point. Especially if you want to keep doing these live events. Mm-hmm. If I am thinking about how much smoother the experience of that end of the season event must have been on PC compared to running it on an Xbox One S. And it's making me really upset thinking about it.
I don't know. I mean, I'll simplify my argument and just say agree to disagree. I think I can see it being more of a possibility 2 years out from now, or when is Lightfall kind of
2022?
Okay, so maybe 2 years out. A year out from now, I would think that would be a little premature, but 2 years out, I could probably be more in the court of what you guys are talking about. I would think. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, I think that the determining factor really will be Bungie's going to wait and see how many of these consoles are sold through, probably by like March or April. And if there is a high enough adoption rate, and they're going to look at the numbers of how many people are playing on the new consoles versus the old consoles, I think. Because if you're on Xbox, really one of the main arguments for you to upgrade right away in November was to get a Series X. If to get a Series X was to play better Destiny.
Oh my gosh, it's
a genuine game changer.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been a console player since the start. I've never played Destiny on PC, and playing Destiny at 60 frames with the field of view adjustments. I mean, it's a completely different game. I love it even more. I know you guys probably talked about this last time. I loved it. I love it even more than I ever have before. It's completely reinvigorated my love for the game. It's fantastic.
Like when Beyond Light came out, I was like, okay, this is fun. I'm enjoying the loading times. That was a game changer before the patch, and then you get all these changes like the 60 frames a second. Like before we got on the raid the other day, when I was like, I had just downloaded the patch because I'm like, I'm not raiding at 30 frames a second. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
I got on for like 45 minutes and just ran around the Cosmodrome trying to get used to the new control, like the new frame rate and stuff. It felt faster. It feels like a different game. Like it really does feel like a different game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's not just marketing speak from us. Like we talked about this last week with Joe. Like we all are in agreement. Like, oh my God, this is a totally different game. And I think that's the best argument you can make for why the game should advance. And I don't want to leave people behind, but at a certain point it's going to be, okay, listen, you might get left behind for like 3 or 4 months, but the majority of the community playing this game is on PC or on next generation, I think, for the overall health of the game. And ultimately it all ties into how long does Bungie see Destiny going as a franchise? Is Lightfall going to be the final expansion, which I don't think it is.
Yeah, I feel like
that going to be the end of Destiny 2, and that's where we drop the number for good and just say it's Destiny.
Here's my argument for keeping at least a 1-year cycle for Destiny is because, like, people we got Game Pass for Destiny. What? I mean, when did that? Okay, September, right? Yeah. I want to see that go all the way through September of next year, at least, so that people who are just coming to Destiny on Game Pass now, maybe they're on Xbox One, maybe they're on Xbox One S, whatever, get a chance to experience the full year cycle before they potentially get abandoned. That's where my argument comes from. Is I want the health of the population to stay, because I do believe that Game Pass brought forth a lot of people into the space that weren't there before.
It absolutely did, and like, I'm not arguing with that. When I make the argument, I'm making it from a selfish perspective.
Of course.
You're
selfish.
I do think that when they do it, it will likely be tied to Lightfall.
That's fine.
But especially after seeing just how smooth the rollout has been on next gen, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility for it to happen next year. I mean, like, while we're talking about the future, like, we know, like, the Cosmodrome, the 3 Strikes, and Vault of Glass, the testing the waters, that's some of the OG content. I've been saying this since we started doing Tower Casuals, back in June and July of this year, that I really do think eventually that 2 is going to get dropped, and we're going to see what the content vault is ultimately updating those planets and those activities that we've removed from Destiny 2 and the stuff from Destiny 1, and eventually bringing it all into another next-gen experience. Mm-hmm. And that when they do that, that will be your moment that, okay, we got to sever the connection with the old consoles. The servers will still be up for you to play anything that you have bought and have access to in Destiny 1 and 2, but the most of the experience is going to be completely on current and PC.
Can we just give Bungie some kudos for a moment about how seamless and smooth the next-gen update went? I mean, think about how many bugs we experienced with their normal patches and updates. I didn't run into a single issue with the next-gen update. Like, I was expecting some technical problems.
I was too.
And I didn't run into a single one. I haven't. We've been playing with it for a few weeks now. I haven't had a crash. I haven't had frames drop really anywhere that's detectable.
I haven't had frames drop since we got the Series X.
I mean,
Yeah.
Kudos to them for executing seemingly a flawless next generation update for the new hardware.
If this is why we had to punt it to November, I'm good.
I'm happy with it. Yep.
I'm glad that I only had to wait 3 weeks to get that next gen update and not like 3 months like it would have been had they still launched in September.
Yep.
And I mean, this is a company that, just like, I guess, kind of wrap up like our retrospective for the year. Like, they started out in a rough place at the beginning of the year. Shadowkeep was not that well. I would argue of the 5 main expansions that they've done, so Taken King, Rise of Iron, Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and now Beyond Light, Shadowkeep is the weakest out of those 5. Like, by far.
I would agree.
Agree.
It was very bare bones. I found myself doing more of the seasonal content than anything, and honestly, I only played a lot that season because I became unemployed halfway through. Like, that's the only real reason that I played as much as I did. Otherwise, I probably would have played for 3-4 weeks, put it down, and taken a break.
I dropped off. I stopped playing.
Yeah.
I know that and Season of the Undying pushed a lot of people away. Like, one of my best friends who has played more Destiny and more Bungie games than anybody I know, like, time-wise, left after Shadowkeep. He was just like, he went and played Witcher 3 instead. he played Witcher.
Same.
He played a few other RPGs, and he goes, the only thing I regret missing, like, he took off pretty much everything up until the back half of Season of Worthy is when he came back. He goes, I took a lot of time off, and he goes, the only thing I regret missing are the Saint 14 story missions.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't regret missing anything. And he goes, I really wish I could play those, but it wasn't worth me coming back for. But I mean, ever since Arrivals, like, he's been in. He's been back in since Arrivals, and the Fellwinter's Quest, and then leading into Arrivals. Like, he's been back in on it, and he's like, yeah, this is the best time that it's ever been, and it really is. Like, we talked about this while you were away from your computer. This is the best time, I think, since Forsaken for new players to jump in.
Mhm.
Agree.
The new Light Quest is in a great place if you've never played this game before. As much as I don't like Shah Han, the intro quest actually teaches you and forces you to stay on the Cosmodrome until you finish it. It's very well done. It teaches you how to do things. You get your first exotic quest out of it. There's a couple lost sectors to do now. I think it's good. I think it's really good.
Not just that, but I'm going to make a case for the content vaulting. There's a lot less content for people.
There's a lot less.
Less is more. Less is more in this case. I mean,
It's not as overwhelming.
So Corey, for example, I mean, we Josh and I and a couple others, we all went through Deepstone Crypt a couple weeks ago. Well, I don't know how long it was, a few weeks ago, but whatever. We went through Deepstone Crypt. For you, it was the first time. For Josh and I, it was a number of times.
Like
I was totally fine going through that raid with you, even though I had just run it hours earlier, because it was such an enjoyable piece of content for me to run multiple times over the course of a week with new people who are seeing it for the first time. I got joy out of you seeing it for the first time. And like, if I'm having that same experience with every single raid, I'm going to be bored of it. Like, there's only so many times that you can teach a specific thing. So less is more in this case. And I think the content that they're providing is it's smaller, but it's also more meaningful, the pieces that they've left over.
Mm-hmm.
It is. The only thing with the content vaulting that I'm a little irked. So I like the content vaulting. I really do. But then I think to playlist activities and how I really wish that, even though I've done those strikes a billion times, that I kind of wish the strikes were still there. Even though the planets aren't there, I kind of wish the strikes were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that the end game, to a degree, and had Deepstone Crypt not been as accessible, I would be hammering this point home a million times over. Had it been as challenging as Last Wish, or especially Garden, for new players, I would have been like, no, I would have beat this till the end of time. I do think that something is missing when you take the raids out. I don't know if it was really necessary to take the raids out, like maybe just update those rewards or something. I do think there is something that comes from, okay, we're going to teach you how to do a raid. Everybody is started on the Leviathan, and then you go from there. Like, it's fine to not have to, and I'm going to say, like, it's perfectly fine that those are removed. My fears are definitely gone with how accessible Deepstone Crypt is for brand new raiders. If it had not been, though, if this had been another Garden of Salvation incident, I would have taken Bungie to task for it, I think, and been like, all right, that's the one thing you need to reverse from the content vaulting, and I would have trusted them to have been smart enough. Because as of right now, there is no story reason for the Leviathan to be gone. Or for the Scourge of the Past raid to be taken out. Like, there is actually no story reason for those 4 activities to be removed.
Mm.
5 activities. There actually is no story reason for the raids to be gone, which is kind of whack when you think about it. Like, I understand they probably needed to get the menagerie out of there. It's probably taking up a ton of room. I'm not shedding any sort of tears over Crown of Sorrow, and it's likely
fuck that raid.
Yeah, fuck that raid. Like, I think they looked at the 4 raids on the Leviathan were probably the 4 least played week over week.
So
and it's because the rewards just were never relevant again.
So, okay, you made a really good point there that I want to hit on, and I want to take us maybe into maybe the last topic of this discussion about, you know, retrospective and also maybe what we're looking forward to. We had a really good season around raiding, right? Around PvE content.
Yeah.
Is it time for a PvP centric season? I read a very interesting article on Reddit about this. Is it time for a PvP centric season? Go.
So, controversial opinion. I think that's part of why Season of the Worthy felt so half-baked. That was supposed to be the grand return of Trials. We got plenty of maps from Destiny 1 added in. We got some new PvP pursuits, and then Trials fell flat on its face.
What's your nickname for that season, Josh?
Season of the Worthless.
Okay, just wanted to point that
I
out.
wanted to remind our listeners
how much Josh really hated spring of 2020 for a plethora of reasons, not the least of which was Destiny's shit-ass content. I think that probably, maybe not this first spring season, but I think that second one, the one that would have been our actual spring season had a delay not happened, the one that we'll get in April or May, I think that's going to be your PvP season. I do think it's coming. If we got an entire season devoted to fucking Gambit, we can get one for the Crucible.
I will.
We need one.
That's terrible.
Crucible needs an overhaul really badly. But that season is when Trials is due to be refreshed, because they said they want to refresh the armor every year, the armor and the weapon pool. So that's when that would be happening. It will hopefully be in a stable place by then.
I hope armor refresh.
That we can actually get Trials back.
Yeah.
I hope armor refresh doesn't mean let's color the Vanguard stuff red.
Right. Like, I mean, we were all okay with the Trials armor because it's like, okay, everybody loved the Trials armor from Destiny 1. Cool, let's throw it in Destiny 2. Please, for the love of God, just continue. Pinnacle activity should have the coolest armor. I'm sorry. They really should. The raids, the dungeons, and Trials should absolutely. And I'm not even going to rule out Comp having a special set one day. Like, those should have the activities that are the absolute hardest to do, that require the most skill, should have the coolest armor. That is a bragging right.
They've taken a ton of focus off of Comp. With the last few seasons. I mean,
so on
Comp
one hand,
isn't even a pinnacle reward anymore.
Well, so one of the reasons why they kind of took that focus off was because you had to do so much comp to get the best PvE weapons in the game, which was a problem. You had to go and look at what you had to do for Mountaintop, dude. Look at what you had to do for Recluse. Like, Recluse was way more accessible when Shadowkeep came out. It was way easier to get both of those. Before that, it was like only the best of the best of the best of the best had that, and without cheesing. And there's almost no way to cheese getting Recluse. But like, I was competent enough in comp that I was able to get Recluse and Revoker. And then what's it called? I was like 2 grenade kills from getting Mountaintop.
I was gonna say, when did you get Mountaintop, Josh?
I bought it day 1. I bought it at the kiosk.
Beyond Light. Yep.
No shame. Bought it day 1. Used it all throughout the campaign. No shame. I take it in the Crucible now too to make myself feel better at night. But I do think you hit the nail on the head. Like, if you're gonna do a PvP season though, I'm talking you need to have a complete overhaul at Shaxx. You need to have a complete suite of weapons for Crucible. You need to have an Iron Banner overhaul at the same time. You need to introduce new Crucible maps because we have no Crucible maps that were made for Destiny 2 on the Moon or on Europa right now. We have Destiny 1 Moon maps.
Guardian games should have been a PvP-centric season. I'm just going to say that now.
It should have been a PvP event.
We should have had entire teams,
and it came during the season that Trials came back.
Versus Warlocks. Yeah. That should have been your PvP centric season.
Yep.
It was a perfect opportunity.
Fully agree. I mean,
how cocky would Titans be? Listen, how cocky would Titans be if an entire team of Titans beat down an entire team of Warlocks? Be like, oh, look at these dress wearers. So we just threw our hammers their faces. Yeah. Corey, go with me on this.
Oh, look at these hunters and their capes. Their stupid capes.
We look good. Listen, we look good, motherfucker.
Let's throw some knives. Let's turn invisible. You know why we turn invisible? Because we can't fight anybody head on.
Have you ever seen the way that I play? I fight head on and I win.
Well, I mean, I've seen the way he plays. He spends most of his time with the revive screen up.
I do not. Dirty liar. That's only in comp. That's only in Trials.
He spends more time watching other people play because
I do think that with Trials being back, that's pretty much your comp replacement, though.
Where is Trials? I haven't seen Trials back yet.
Tomorrow, when you are listening to this, Trials should be live. Although I did see a joke beneath a Bungie tweet today when they were tweeting about a hotfix. Somebody took the yellow Cyberpunk screen and put Trials has been delayed, and I got irrationally angry. I laughed really hard, but I got irrationally angry seeing it.
That's funny.
I laughed so hard I didn't.
If you're gonna do a PvP refresh, though, I don't think it can be just PvP and Trials. I think you also need to get the same treatment to Gambit. Because Gambit weapons are all Gambit used to have its own loot pool. It's completely obsolete now.
Yep.
I think you need to do that. There are only 4 Gambit maps. 2 of them got vaulted. There is no Gambit map for the Moon, which is inexcusable after a complete year, frankly. There's nothing for Europa. Yep. I think you at least need to add those 2, and I would argue you need to add one for Cosmodrome too. You could easily do one like in that airplane graveyard looking area.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily make one that seemed like that, or hell, even use the Gallarhorn arena from Destiny 1 where we did the Gallarhorn mission for Rise of Iron. I think that'd be a really cool area to turn into a Gambit map. Like, there's so many possibilities you can use here. Say, oh, we went down in the loot cave and found a Gambit arena or something. Like, I don't know, do something crazy here. Use Sepix's arena, something. Like, there's so many cool ideas you could do. And I think Bungie's got the PvE side figured out. Let's not make any mistake. At its core, this is a PvE experience with PvP tacked on. Crucible has always been treated like that by Bungie, so Bungie decided with Forsaken, we're going to start introducing pinnacles, and then they quickly realized they were out of control. Like, there is no world in which Mountaintop and Revoker should not have been exotics. There is no scenario in which those should not have been. Just saying it. Like, Mountaintop is the whole reason we had to do vaulting of weapons is because of those weapons.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. I feel like this is a completely different discussion, but I feel like legendary weapons should be somewhere in the middle of some of the they should be somewhere in the middle of exotics and like the shittiest of legendary weapons that we have now. Like, pinnacle weapons, I agree. Some of them were very special and very good. But I feel like there's some exotic weapons that are just so interchangeable with other ones that it's...
Here's one other thing I'd like to see while we're talking about refreshes. I'd like to see an exotic refresh. Because how many of those exotic weapons that we have are just useless?
Darcy
was good for approximately 1 encounter. And once you had Whisper, it was useless again.
Yeah.
Darcy was good for what's it called? Insurrection Prime.
There's talk there's talk. I'm not going to get into it, but there's talk of possibly vaulting exotics. It's a scary concept, but
so I have Destiny pulled up right now. I'm gonna look at the exotic. Y'all keep talking. I'm gonna look at the exotics, and I'm gonna wonder what I'd actually be okay with them vaulting in terms of weapons. I'm not gonna get into
Darcy, or if you're not gonna vault Darcy, you move it to a special. Skyburners.
So that's my bigger thing is. Heavy snipers need to be moved. Heavy snipers and Legend of Acreus need to be moved into the special slot.
Skyburners and Merciless. Merciless needs to be moved to a special slot.
Strum.
Is it?
Sturm needs to be just taken out, like altogether. It's useless.
There are a lot of people that love that hand
Fuck
cannon
Sturm.
in
Fuck
PvP.
Sturm.
There, go at.
Sounds like
Cross.
Josh just got killed by
that's
Sturm.
his favorite.
I have not.
hand cannon.
I'm dead ass serious when I say I have not seen Sturm used since like week 2 of Destiny 2. I'm not even joking with you.
I'm just saying, hand cannon enthusiasts love Sturm.
Okay, well they've got like 20 other hand cannons to choose from.
Ace of Spades, Thorn, Last
Fucking
Word,
hand cannon. Can we get few?
Hawk Moon.
Bungie.
That's what I was saying.
Listen, hold on.
Got...
Can I bitch for a second, please?
Yes.
Okay.
What have you been doing the last hour and 25 minutes?
Wow. I'm glad this is the last episode of 2020 because I'm not coming back on for 2020. Fuck hand cannons. Okay, if I get another fucking hand cannon exotic. Sorry, Corey, you're gonna have to bleep me out or something.
No.
If I
No
get
bleeps.
another fucking exotic hand cannon, I'm going to scream. Give me something else. Give me something else. I know that the people at Bungie love hand cannons, obviously, because that is and I get it. That's like the quintessential like weapon of Destiny, but like it's not like there are people out there in the community that don't like playing with hand cannons. Do not give me another exotic hand cannon. Most of us don't, and especially most of us on console. Don't give us hand cannons. I don't want to play with hand cannons. Hawk Moon is cool. Ace of Spades is cool. Thorn is cool. The one thing I'll say about Thorn is Necrotic Grips gave Thorn a reason to be played with again. Mm-hmm. But don't give me another fucking hand cannon. I'm sick of it. I'm done. Don't give me another hand cannon.
If this had been a hand cannon that was not Hawk Moon, I would have thrown a fit. Like I was okay with it being Hawk Moon because I'm really sentimental for it. But if it was in year 2 in Forsaken, we got Malfeasance, Ace of Spades, Last Word, Thorn, Lumina. We got at least 5 exotic hand cannons in that span. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Those quests to get all of those fucking sucked. Like for all of them.
They weren't great. So I liked the uniqueness of the Last Word one.
Agree.
I liked that, and I really, really love that the final part of the Ace of Spades quest is the final like love letter to the community about Cade. I mean, we're still getting the ramifications of that, which I really like.
But how many of them were get 50 kills?
No. That's what I'm getting
Crucible.
to.
Or like the percentage ones were like, okay, you got to keep killing people with hand cannons, but if you die, you get percentage taken away.
I can't get the catalyst for Ariana's Vow because I didn't get it that season.
I didn't either, so I can no longer get it either. Well, I have the quest, but I'm not going to kill myself to get that done.
I'm not going to do 400 strikes at 1 per to get it. I'm done with exotic hand cannons. You guys have done a fantastic job of making some really good hand cannons, but we don't need any more of them. No, like make something else.
Like I'm looking at this and it's just like I'd be okay with a lot of these just getting like a lot of this stuff getting vaulted or cut or whatever because it's just not usable, and that's kind of the cadence that you fall into though, right? With exotics is you find the couple things that work really, really good for that in-game content, and you never really have to experiment outside of that because you get into a false sense of security. That's why it shocked people so much when they nerfed Whisper into the ground. It's like, what are we supposed to use our boss DPS now? Like, I don't know. Figure something else out. Like, you're smart. You'll be okay. I promise you'll be okay. It's not that big of a deal. When the Outbreak got or not Outbreak, Sleeper got nerfed. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Figure something else out. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Xenophage came along to save the day. Like, I'm sure a Xenophage nerf is coming eventually. Like, it is what it is, but that's part of the game, is adapting to it. So I don't know if I necessarily want to see exotics nerfed. I'd like to see a catalyst overhaul, really.
Agree.
Because I mean, some of these guns, like the catalyst, does dick.
Or doesn't exist. There are some guns that we
or it
still
doesn't
don't
exist.
have
Like
catalyst for.
Jotun's been in the game for 2 years and doesn't have a catalyst. Neither does Le Monarch. That blows my mind.
Give me a Jotun catalyst that just kills the wielder.
Jotun catalyst with full court, Bungie. Give me full court on Jotun.
Give me a Jotun catalyst that just kills the user. Like, you shoot a Jotun, you get a kill, then you just die.
That's how I feel about
one.
Warcliffe Coil. Like, put one on Warcliffe Coil that just kills the user and says, use a better gun. Get creative. Get creative.
Just uninstalls the game.
Yeah, no, that's Telesto's catalyst.
God, I hate Telesto, dude. If I get one more Telesto, I'm uninstalling Destiny.
Oh, Luke Smith, I know you're listening. I need you to give Corey a Telesto tonight.
Please don't.
So, I don't know, but I mean that's about all I got. I think, like, looking forward, like, hopes and dreams for this next year, I'd really like to see a PvP and Gambit overhaul, and when I talk overhaul, new maps, new weapons. Give me a unique set of. It doesn't have to be armor. You can keep that same shitty ass armor they have. Give me some armor ornaments to earn. That's what I'd love to see. Let me earn, when you're going to bring transmog in, let me earn some ornaments in game. Like, start making the raid armor next year, or with Vault, start making that ornaments. Don't always make it armor. Make it ornaments, dude. Like, after my first drop or something, just be like, or my first drop of it is automatically a universal ornament. And then after that, it's real armor or something. I don't know. Come up with something creative. Y'all are smart over there. And I'd really like, and I think a dungeon is coming soon. I know one of the big fan requests is to rework Crota's End into a 3-man dungeon instead.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that be the summer thing next year. Give us a reason to go back to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That would be very exciting. I'd be all in for it. Like, in a universe without Gallarhorn doing that, that's gonna be hilarious. Everyone's gonna go to Truth or Eyes of Tomorrow with Divinity.
I'm down.
Everybody's just gonna run up and lament the guy to death.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just hope this next year just continues on the path that they're going.
Agreed.
I don't mind taking like a couple weeks off here and there, and then when the new season drops, balls to the wall for like 2 or 3 weeks to get through the content and see what's happening. If there's a new raid, check it out. If there's a new dungeon, check it out. And then, I like this cadence. I like this pace. I really just like I said to you earlier, Josh, Beyond Light has kind of like reinvigorated my love for Destiny. I mean, like I liked Forsaken. Shadowkeep was whatever, right? Like I didn't even really, like I played through most of it, but like I didn't really care about anything until the season of Arrivals was happening. I like the Saint 14 stuff because I like Saint 14, but like the surrounding stuff for that was just awful. But this cadence seems like they're going in the right direction. I want to see what there's like. I can't wait like 4, 5, 6 months from now, like their season of Arrivals for this year, whatever that season is, leading into the Witch Queen. Like that's what I'm kind of excited for. It's like, okay, Beyond Light kind of feels like the start of like a new trilogy, obviously, right? Like we've been talking about that ever since we started. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about that ever since we started the show. Like, what's this trilogy's Empire Strikes Back? What's the Witch Queen gonna be? So,
I think my kind of closing thought with this season is I really enjoy what Bungie's done. I think they've gotten really good at adapting to the community. What I would really like to see them do is try to preemptively try to figure out what the community wants. because what they've always done well is like throw a bunch of stuff out there and then see what sticks and then fix stuff. And that, granted, I love that the fact that they listen to the community and they fix things and they adapt things. But like, I mean, at this point, you've had a community that's been playing your game for 7 years. When did Destiny come out?
2014.
14.
Okay, so 6 years. You should have a little bit more of an idea of what your community wants and expects. And there are developers who do this really well. For example, I think the developer for Warframe does a really good job with this. They anticipate what the community wants and they develop stuff around that preemptively. I think Bungie could do a lot better job with that. I think they're starting to head in that direction. I hope they continue. But as long as they keep listening to us and keep developing along the same path, like you said, Corey, I'm happy. I was happy with Beyond Light. I like what they're doing with the game. I like the direction they're headed. I'm in a good place.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we get out of here, gentlemen? It's been
We have a final lore corner for the year.
Oh yeah, lore corner.
Do it, Josh. Give it to us.
Lore corner for 2020. Who'd you bake that for? Zavala?
Wait, did you just say lore corner 420?
No, the last lore corner for 2020.
Oh, sorry. I got a whole different idea with what we're.
I don't know what you're baking over there, Nerd Generalist. Okay.
I was baking cookies.
So the one that we were going to talk about tonight, we did the first half of this lore book a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to go into an excruciating detail. Everyone can read it for themselves as they unlock their stasis fragments. But it's called The Dark Future, and you unlock a piece every time you get an aspect or a fragment from Elsie. And we're going to skip right to the end of this. This is talking about Elsie's future, the future that she is trying to prevent. Her and Anna kind of go on a quest to try and reunite what's left of the Vanguard, because in this timeline, Eris was the true Witch Queen. Eris was Savathun, essentially. And she betrayed the Vanguard. She killed Ikora. Marasov is in hiding. Zavala lives in the ruins of the Almighty behind the tower. He's crippled. He's walking around on crutches, things like that. Drifter has literally been disembodied. He's been completely destroyed. People's ghosts have been killed. Over the course of this lore book, they seek to get Mara to join their cause. And they use the Leviathan to chain the Traveler that fled and drag it back to Earth. And in that, they assemble an entire army of Vex and Cabal and Fallen and everything to try and take down Eris. Anna falls essentially to the dark side, and Elsie kills her sister. They describe it in a very excruciating fashion. She drives a knife into her sister's side, and that's what makes her resolve, like, I have to end this. And Eris is like, you haven't even begun to know pain, essentially. Like, I'm going to destroy you and rip you limb from limb. And at the same time she says that, Elsie goes, well, I think you've got bigger problems than that. And the Traveler awakens again. It starts glowing, just like we saw it before Beyond Light. And she goes, I want to read exactly what it says. And it says, the darkness energy Eris manipulates canvases the landscape and makes its way to the sky. I see the Traveler getting brighter as the darkness encapsulates it. I race towards Eris, but I'm too late. In an enchanting explosion, the Traveler's light enshrouds all in totality. Then darkness. Then I'm awake. I see a tower. The tower. I'm in the last city, and it's thriving, bustling with life, children laughing. There's a small parade. I fight through the crowd to find Cade 6 at the center of it. I think I finally got him this time, he shouts as a beardless Zavala greets him. Tannix has been dead before, Zavala says. From behind him emerges Ikora like a vision. Let the new Hunter Vanguard bask. He's earned it. I'm so sick of this scene, of hearing these words every day ever since the day I killed my sister. That was the first time. Now I've lost count. No matter what I do, it always ends the same. Blood and betrayal. Then I'm back where I started, right here. I'm being taunted, punished, forced to relive the loop. There has to be a way out, and I will find it. So essentially, Elsie is saying the Traveler's will is for her to keep going back in time until she finds the crux point, which we are told earlier in the book was our guardian. That the guardian, the young wolf, fell to the darkness and helped Aramis lead an assault on the tower at the same time that Eris and Savathun did. So by us accepting the darkness as we did, like instead of trying to keep us from it, Elsie guides us to it instead. This is a future where she hasn't done that before in any of her futures. We've discovered it on our own. Instead, her, Eris, and Drifter guide us to it. And we're on an uncharted path. She tells us in her dialogue to us, she's still terrified that future is going to come to pass. But she feels confident for the first time. She feels hope that it won't happen. So I guess I wanted to end the year on that, on one of the bleakest lore chapters that is in canon. It's not like Callus's little fanfic visions he has of strangling the life out of us at the end of time. This is instead something this is the Traveler's will. It wants Elsie to keep going back in time, and maybe the Traveler isn't as dumb as we thought. Maybe it's not here to flee again. It's here to keep doing this until Elsie guides us down the right path. But this is her cosmic purpose in this story. Years after saying she has no time to explain, she has all the time in the world to explain. And I just think it's a really beautiful passage ultimately. So everybody go read the lore book. We're not going to read the other 4 chapters of this that we haven't covered before. It's some weird stuff though, dealing with all our favorite NPCs. It's interesting. And it raises for me a lot of questions about what happens in this franchise going forward. Time travel we thought was a one-off thing with the sundial, but now we find out the Traveler can beam you back in time if it deems you worthy, essentially. Could we experience some of, Warlord Shax's stories? Iron Lord Saladin? How cool would that be to embody somebody else for a strike or something? Go back in time. I don't know.
I think it... I don't want to go on too long, but I think it gives a great segue for Bungie to tell these stories through other mediums. Mm-hmm. I think we've had comics before. We've had short
the comic has basically become essential reading too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do more of these things. Mm-hmm. Tell us these stories. Show us what happened in Elsie's timeline.
Maybe a short film.
It'd be really cool. It'd be really cool is if they made a ODST style first person shooter style game, maybe $20 kind of side games where you play through a 3 or 4 hour campaign, or Battle of the Six Fronts, or you know what I mean, some of these bigger battles that you hear about, or maybe you play as Eris's fire team and when you go see they all get destroyed by Crota, or you know what I mean,
Dead by Daylight Destiny.
I mean,
Crota's den.
I mean, I think those types of things would be really cool.
Yeah.
They've done it. They did it with Halo. I don't see why they can't do it.
Experience where Crota is chasing me.
Oh, I don't know if I want that.
We've seen live action videos and commercials from Destiny. There's a lot more they could do with that.
Short film like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give me more of this stuff. Once again, back to what I was saying earlier, they've done a great job of really bringing the story to the forefront. This is a perfect opportunity. I think, Josh, this was a great lore piece to present because I think it's one of the best sort of angles, one of the best points from the story from Beyond Light. I love it. Give me more. Just give me more, man. I'll buy it. I'll pay for it.
I want to give everybody one final thing to think about because, Corey, I know you're going to finish Hawkmoon up over the Christmas break. And this relates to the Hawkmoon quest and the dialogue you get with Crow in it. And how he basically is leading you to Hawkmoon based on visions that he's gotten from the Traveler. We know of only 2 other Guardians who have ever been actually spoken to by the Traveler. And that's... we believe Ikora is one of them, and we're the other one. Crow is the third one, which is very interesting when you think about his placement in this story following the murder of Cade 6, him being corrupted by Riven and Savathun into, freeing them and starting the Curse in the Dreaming City. We haven't had a proper speaker since the Red War campaign.
I read about this. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What if, and this is a thought I want to leave, I don't want to do any sort of speculation until we come back from the Christmas break. What if the Crow, what if his ultimate purpose is to become the new speaker? The real speaker. Because the speaker that we had said he goes, I never said the Traveler spoke to me, only that I spoke for it.
He was a fraud.
He was a fraud. So what happens next?
What happens next?
And
is we leave our fans on that note, and we come back in the new year, and we discuss it.
Yep.
So this is gonna be the end of this episode. I do want to say, okay, so we're not gonna have an episode for 2 weeks, but I am going to try to get all of the lore corners, cut them out of some of the other episodes and put them together in chronological order of us doing them, and kind of present them as their own kind of episode. That way if people get Destiny for Christmas, or they find this podcast somehow and they want to be caught up on what we're talking about in the lore wise, they'll be caught up by the new year. So I'm going to try to have that done by New Year's. So yeah, that's kind of it. We're not going to have a new episode in the next 2 weeks. We'll be back the first full week of January. So I guess that would be the 7th live show, 8th podcast services. So I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. I really appreciate, the show has kind of started as a pet project, and now it's kind of become a staple of what we do at Boss Rush. It's exciting to see. Honestly, Josh, I want to tell you, in 2 weeks, we've gone from just under 300 listeners to 557 listeners.
Jesus Christ.
In 3 weeks.
Wow. Congratulations, guys.
Jesus Christ.
We had a side talk yesterday, Josh. Mm-hmm. Well, not really a side talk, but we had a meet, the rest of the Boss Rush team kind of had a meeting about what we kind of wanted to achieve in 2021. And I asked you if you wanted to be a part of the meeting, and you had family stuff to do and whatever, but between this and Arsenal X, I just want to say that you've been like an integral part of the growth of both of those shows. And between Nerd Generalist and Colonel Panic being on this show, like interchangeably or together, or when we need a third chair, like
they're usually a package deal.
Don't lump me in with that degenerate. Okay.
He's probably off making little tiny Master Chief helmets for his penis. I don't know.
Listen, I just want to say thank you guys for letting me be on several times throughout this year. Anytime you guys need anyone to jump on, feel free to send me a message. Anybody who's picking up Destiny for the first time, please tune in to this podcast right here. These two guys are extremely knowledgeable and just great people. They care about Destiny. They love it. And I think we're going to have a great year next year of talk about Destiny specifically.
Yeah. I think we are too. I mean, like Corey said, this kind of started out as a little pet project. It was a transitional period for me over the summer. I was kind of need something to occupy my mind a little bit. And Corey tweeted out, he was like, I'm going to start with Destiny show. He's like, I really want to do Tower Casuals. Like, that's a great name. And I was like, dude, if you do that with that name, I'll join you. I think that's hilarious. I like that. I like the idea of just, a couple guys kicking back, having some friends on, and just talking about Destiny, having a drink, just talking, hanging out, like what's going on. Like, hey, some episodes are only gonna be 30 minutes. Other times we're gonna have like 2.5 hours because we're just goofing off and having fun with everybody. And I guess especially with the delay in Season of Arrivals, I think it got both of us a little bit more comfortable with how to cover an evolving game on a week-to-week basis. Like I would sit there and I stopped planning shows because I would plan out a show and then, oh my God, here's like a 5-page TWAB with all these notes and all these updates coming out that we need to be able to talk about. And that's going to take the bulk of our show. So
I think the big change too is when we moved the show from Mondays to Thursdays. I think was a big change for us too.
We've been talking about it. It was hard to do a show on Mondays and then put it out on like Tuesday or Wednesday. And by then, like, the TWAP's already been out for a week. It was irrelevant. Like, even Lore Corner started out as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I just, like, off the cusp of my head one night, I was like, oh, okay, guys, okay, we're gonna pump the brakes. We're gonna talk about how this fits into the story. And it just, like, instead of it becoming a running joke, it just became, a natural segment. I love that. I love explaining. I'm no Bife, but I like explaining where I can. Like, I still have to watch Bife to understand some of what's going on when it's brand new.
Yeah,
but. Things like this, like we were talking about the accessibility of the lore. Like I had the lore book literally pulled up on my screen in game since I'm hanging out in Orbit, like so that I could sit here and read it. Like that makes it easier to read direct passages from. And people who have listened have told us time and time again what you like and what you don't like. Like the one thing we keep coming back to is keep doing Lore Corner. Like that's really fun. Keep doing that. Like it's all about making the story better and more digestible for everybody. So going into 2021, I hope that the friendships that we've made this year, the partnerships we've made, like we just keep going forward. We keep continuing to grow. Everyone keeps tuning in. Like this isn't just a little side project anymore. This is something I look forward to every week, even though I often forget when it's Thursday. My sense of time has been completely thrown off this year. So 2 weeks in a row now, I have forgotten it's Thursday until Corey messages me. He's like, dude, I can't wait for tonight. And I have to go like, it's not, oh shit, it's Thursday. Like I definitely went through all day today until like 3 p.m. thinking it was Wednesday, not Thursday. But to be like, what are you talking about? Like, dude, we don't have the show till tomorrow night, which the same thing I thought last week. So in 2021, I resolved to, wear a watch.
Or a calendar on your face.
Yeah, I'm just going to walk around with a calendar on me. So be like, let me consult my schedule so I can just look down at it.
We need to get Josh an assistant, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Siri ain't cutting it. I'm kidding, Siri. I love you. Please don't kill me when the machines take
Tower
over.
Casual stretch goal assistance for everyone. Oh man, but I appreciate you, Josh. I appreciate you, Nerd, coming on and hanging out. Sometimes it's look, my podcasting career started with Destiny, and like I sorely missed it for years, and it's something I always wanted to get back to. And the fact that like it's not only fun every week, but it's successful, and we've made so many friends, and it's just, I don't know, it kind of made my year, honestly, bringing this show back. So
for sure.
So
hey,
what?
I was gonna say, if you're listening right now, like reach out. Like we're all very friendly people. We are all very welcoming people. Like let's play some Destiny together, and let's go into this new year as a
start
as a
sending
team.
your questions in.
Yeah. Please give Josh something else to talk about other than his own opinions.
That's right.
You can tweet at us at Tower
still
Casuals.
Get a lot of those, but
we have a Twitter and an email address. You can email us at towercasuals@gmail.com or at Tower Casuals on Twitter. Just tweet at us, or you can tweet at either of us. I want to thank everybody so much for watching and or listening. Josh, where can we find you?
As always, guys, on Twitter and on Twitch at Josh_Finn with the two N's, boys and girls. We're finishing up Cyberpunk this week, then we're going into Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I'm ready to go throw some axes in a game that's not Destiny. Because Destiny won't let me throw axes, only hammers. And nobody likes playing as a crayon muncher.
Wow.
Nerd, where can we find you? I'm not even gonna just respond to that.
That's right.
You can find me on Twitter at Nerd Generalist, where I frequently talk about Basically complain about Banshee mod releases, and
oh no!
we didn't get into that today, but basically I just complain about Banshee mod releases and Pokemon TCG stuff. You guys can come find me there. Thank you.
Man,
His grievances with CD Project Red.
Speaking of Pokemon trading cards, I got a bunch that I need to get rid of. So
we could talk about that, Corey. All right, bye.
Anyways, you can find Tower Casuals on your podcast services. Please rate and review us. It really helps us out. Watch us live on Twitch every Thursday. And until 2021, we will see you later, Guardians. Goodbye. Okay, here we go. All right.
There was no MCU.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Dude, you're getting enough MCU for the next 10 years to last like the next 40.
You're
okay?
goddamn right I am.
Disney, fucking Star Wars.
Disney, listen, all of the Star Wars stuff is to apologize to me and me alone for the absolute abomination of a movie that was The Rise of Skywalker.
Josh, shut up. Corey, start it. Go.
I did start it.
2, 1.
3, 2, 1.